tonight is the fabulous, fabulous Reverend Elouise Oliver. And I'll tell you a little bit more about her in a minute. So what is Wednesday night service here at the Oakland Center? Reverend Jeff designed this as the place where we can be together as a community to be spiritually refreshed between Sundays. We kind of coined it the Wednesday night oasis, and that's exactly what we'll do. And he crafted it to be delivered in a style called the satsang style. Some folks do it all in different ways and forms of that. But that means we have a speaker speak for about 20 minutes or so, and then we open it up for an approachable discussion moderated by our speaker. And that intention is that the Wednesday night service be informal, intimate, and rich. And that's what we have planned for you tonight. Our annual theme is Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision. And our monthly theme for May is Holy, Holy Uprising. Holy with a W, holy again with just the H, uprising. So if you're joining us for the first time tonight, we welcome you. When I get to the announcements, I'll let you know of a special way you can sign up for our Village News and stay better connected about the events that we have here at the center. But regardless, we're so glad everyone is here tonight, new and regular visitors. Again, our theme is Holy, Holy Uprising, and that's what Reverend Dr. Elouise Oliver is going to speak on tonight for us. Let me tell you a little bit about Reverend Dr. Elouise Oliver. She is currently the Minister Emeritus of the East Bay Church of Religious Science in Oakland. And under her leadership, which she led since 1991, the church grew from 37 to over 1,200 members. But she has a history longer than East Bay, and it all started here at the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living, also known to her and many of us as the First Church of Religious Science, Oakland. She came here as a congregant and then moved on to become a practitioner and then moved further on to be a staff minister before she assumed the pulpit at the East Bay Church. And she considers Oakland Center to be her home. And we're so glad that she comes and visits with us every other month on Wednesday night. We're so blessed to have her speak, to be a part of our Oasis service on Wednesdays. So with that, Reverend E, I welcome you to the stage, so to speak, and ask that you open us up in prayer. And if you're ready, we can start with you on the topic.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to read a pamphlet, a little story that comes from the Unity Church. And the topic is Come Ye Yourselves Apart for a While. Jesus knew the value of going apart, not only from the multitudes who were following him and his disciples, but he also knew the necessity of getting away to the mountain to pray. If Jesus, with all of his developed spirituality and control of earthly things, knew the value of getting to himself, how much more important it is to you and to me to get away from the hustle and bustle of daily living, to seek a quiet place where we can relax and pray. I do not believe Jesus' retirement from the multitude meant merely that he wanted to get away, but he understood the importance of increasing his own spiritual power through prayer. We are learning that we need to take time each day to go apart from the powers and possibilities of life and rest a while. Through quiet moments of prayer, we open our mind to the wisdom which has already been written in our hearts. many persons ask us to teach them how to pray. We approach the art of meditation and prayer just by relaxing and learning to relax completely in God. I want to just stop right there and remember a song the old folks used to sing, and they said, "My Lord is a listener in the cotton fields, wherever you are. My Lord is a listener just to hear you pray." We know that we've gone beyond the human form of God with some ears to listen. But in order to really get it deep down in us, we give this thing whatever we want it to be. If we want it to be Buddha sitting under a tree, it's that. If we want it to be a rock in a stream, it's that. If we want it to be some bees hanging around our neck, it can be that. Because Ernest Holmes said, the imagination is the scissors of the mind. So whatever we imagine this thing to be, it is that. And so I wrote a short essay called A Highway in the Sky. A highway in the sky is along with the message tonight, because the big book said there's a way, and there's a way called holiness. Holiness, whole like everything included, and a way that's there all the time. And so I got this idea. As you all know, I was born on a plantation. Nobody likes to talk about that, but it's okay. You can call it a farm owned by a certain man that had some folks working on his farm. However you want to describe it, that's what it was. Because whatever you think it is, that's what it is. It became my freedom right there in the cotton field, dragging a cotton sack, trying to pick 100 pounds of cotton a day, which I never did do. I never made that. But in the middle of the day, when we had a chance to rest, it would just be so hot. You would look out over the field and look like you could see the heat rising up from the ground. And we'd stop and get under a shade tree. And I would lay there on my back. And this big airplane would come over, great big airplane. And I would look up and there would be that plane. And it came over at the same time every day in the same place. And that's when I decided there must be a highway in the sky. I knew there was a road going past our house and it went to town and it went that way. And you had to stay in the middle of the road because in the rainy season, if you got off to the side, you would get stuck because it would be mud. So since this plane was in the same place all the time, I decided that it was like the highway outside down the road where it had to stay in that place. And so I said to my grandmother, where is that plane going? And she said, I don't really know, baby, but I heard it was going to a place called California. And I said to her when I was a little girl, I want to go there. I want to go there. At that time, there were no schools for the Black kids, but the white kids would catch the school bus and they would go. And eventually, a logging company came into the woods where we lived and started cutting down the trees. And I didn't understand the significance of that either. But anyway, my dad was a hard worker and they hired him to work for the logging company. And they took him, he started having the opportunity to go to a place called Pensacola, Florida. And that's where they were cutting the logs up into lumber. And my dad had found out there was a school there. So he kidnapped me from my mother. And my mother was very sad. But I already told you that all things are working together for your good. So I miss my mama and she missed me. But I ended up with the opportunity to go to school. But I never lost the vision of the highway in the sky and the place called California. And finally, I went to a school that had a library. It was a Black school, but it had a library with so many books in the library. I had never thought of that many books because there was a law at one time that Black folk were not allowed to read, and any white person that taught a Black person to read would be fined. But my grandma knew how to read because the lady, the white woman where she worked, had some children. And she wanted my grandma to help those kids with their homework. So my grandmama learned to read. And then when she came home, she taught me how to read. And so books are very valuable to me. I have just a book on everything. Some friends of mine were going to JF Kennedy University studying some kind of consciousness. So they would just come over my house to get the books because I had them. But anyhow, when I got to where I could study geography, I found out that the Golden Gate Bridge was the longest suspension bridge in the United States. And I would imagine what kind of posts they must have put in the bottom of the ocean on each side to hold up a bridge. And so in my childhood, I would think about that and I would wonder about that. And the ropes that held the bridge and the name of the bridge was the Golden Gate. And so in my childlike mind, I saw a bridge that was golden and it was swinging between two posts. And you can imagine it took many, many, many years for my childhood dream to come true. So I just want to say to you and you and you that's been working on a dream a long time, do not let it go. Because God's timing is not like your time. Because all things are possible with God. And as I said, Ernest said, your imagination is the scissors of the mind. And although the bridge was golden in my imagination, the vision that I held from a 9-year-old girl, from a little girl, finally came true. And my husband was stationed at Fort Baker, right under the Golden Gate Bridge. And when we got here, it was late, it was early in the morning. And some friends of ours had already shipped here ahead of us. And they were waiting on us. We got here about 4 o'clock in the morning. They got up and made some coffee. And I heard this sound, woo, woo. And she said, you know what that is? I said, no. She said, that's the Golden Gate Bridge. Because I had told everybody about my dream of seeing the Golden Gate. And now I was living under it. And it all started from a highway in the sky. And so I know that every person here has taken foundation. And I feel that I want to read to you the Declaration of Principles, because sometimes we forget. We forget that we forgot. And so somebody asked Ernest Holmes what he believes, so I was told. And this is what he said. I believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. This one manifests itself in and through all creation, but it is not absorbed by this creation. The manifest universe is the body of God. It is the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. I believe in the incarnation of the Spirit in all beings, and that every person is an incarnation of one Spirit. I believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul, forever and ever expanding. I believe that the kingdom of heaven is within me, and that I experience that kingdom to the degree that I become conscious of it. I believe that the ultimate goal of life is to be a complete emancipation from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. I believe in the unity of all life, and that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. I believe that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence. This indwelling presence. I believe in the direct revelation of truth through the indwelling God. I believe that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through a universal mind, which is the law of God, and that I am surrounded by this creating mind, which receives the direct impress of my thought and acts upon it. I believe in the healing of the sick through the power of this mind. I believe in the control of conditions through the power of this mind. I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. I believe in my own soul, my own destiny, my own spirit, for I understand that my life is God, and so it is. And so I know, like I know, that God is all there is. There is nothing else. And I coined a phrase that said, there's not a spot where God is not. David said, if I go to the highest mountain, God is there. And if I go to the depths of the ocean, God is there. And even if I make my bed in hell, even there, the hand of God will find me. Even if I make my bed in hell. And sometimes I've done that. It's like, how did I get here again? How did I find myself back in this place? But it's okay, because my Lord is a listener. So, well, no matter how many times you go, I'm listening, and I'm coming, and I'm there when you call. And so it is. Everybody say yes. 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 Yes.
Wow, Reverend E, we're all blown away. Thank you so much. Can everybody maybe put on their cameras and thank Reverend E? And if anybody wants to share nuggets or wisdom, please
I'll ask a question.
raise your hand. Yes, absolutely, please.
Yes, sir.
So I don't really have a question, Reverend E, but I just want to thank you for being here. So thank you so much. Your words of wisdom are so precious, and we cherish you. It's an honor to have you here. Carrie, I'll put your video on. Did you want to, anybody who wants to comment or share, please raise your hand.
I see. I thought you were just asking us all to put our pictures on. I don't have a question at this moment.
I have something to say. This is Lita on the phone.
Hi, Lita.
Hi. Hi, Reverend E.
Hi, how are you?
It's so good to hear you. Thank you so much for our declaration. It was very powerful to hear you speak it, and also for sharing your powerful and wonderful manifestation of your wanting to go to California and see the Golden Gate Bridge. That was such a powerful, powerful manifestation. You held that thought in mind from a 9-year-old little girl, not knowing anything about science of mind or how we manifest things or whatever. And that was just so powerful and encouraging, and which tells me it's not too late. So thank you, thank you. I'm grateful and I'm blessed.
Reverend E,
Yes.
it's Paul here. Holy, holy uprising. I would like to know, you told me a story the other day on the phone when we were chatting, but I think the folks would be interested in knowing what brought you to the center, to First Church. Would you recount that? Would you be willing to recount that story? What brought you up the hill?
What brought me up the hill was when my husband came from Vietnam, he had post-traumatic stress disorder. And he was very mean, and we had lots of disagreements and fights, and he would drink a lot. And he would come home at night and try to cook and set the house afire or something like that. And so one of my kids went to school and was complaining to the school nurse. And they said that I had to leave my husband or they would put my children in foster care. And so I left under those conditions, and I ended up on welfare. And living on the Army base, everything had been provided, and I had lived at Presidio in this beautiful redwood forest and all that. And I left that and moved to Berkeley to a project. And my kids was learning all kinds of stuff. And I heard a man speak to my son and say, "Boy, you can't pay your mama no attention. She's been brainwashed. And all this Christianity stuff, that's colonization." And so I wanted to get my kids out of the project. And my mama gave me this book called Everything Begins in Mind, Psychogenesis by, anyway, I'll think of his name. He had been an attorney, and he said that he wanted to find a better way that people shouldn't have to be always in contention and fighting each other. His name Jack Addington. And he wanted to teach people how they could have agreement and still have what they wanted. And so he wrote that book. And my daughter said to me, the man that wrote the book is speaking at a place called First Church of Religious Science on Clairwood Drive. And that's how I got here. I was having food stamps and WIC and all that. And I was ashamed of being on welfare. And that's what brought me here. And when I learned that I could have anything I want, which meant I could get off welfare. I could have a car. I could have a fur coat. And one of the black blues singers has said something, wrote a song called "Gee Baby, Ain't I Good to You?" Bought you a fur coat, a diamond ring, a Cadillac car, and a fur coat. And I asked for those three things and I got it. And then I began to know that things are not what matter. It's a transition of my heart that happened on the hill. Thank you.
Speaking of Jack Addington, I had a life-saving event because of him, Reverend E.
Really?
Yeah, and the book that I use that is his, and it's my go-to. I don't know if you can see it here. I'm trying to show it, but it's hard to show. Is Your Needs Met?
Oh, I have it right here. I have it right here. And the affirmation that we say in our church every Sunday, used to say it every Sunday, came out of page 9 in that book.
Okay.
And it's the prayer for alcoholism. God is the only power in my life. Nothing from without can touch the perfect life of God within me. No past experience has power over me. I'm a perfect child of God, and nothing that anyone has ever done or said can interfere with my divine inheritance. The power of God is greater than any circumstance in my life. Anyway, I know that one from memory because it's a prayer for alcoholism, and it works.
There is no power but of God. Romans 13:1 is the scripture that leads into that affirmation.
Yes.
When you met Jack, when you came to the center and you saw Jack Addington speak right in our sanctuary, is that right?
Yes.
Wow. And that was the tip of the iceberg that kept you coming to the center. Is that right? And based on the story?
Yes.
All it took was one link to another link from your vision of the Golden Gate Bridge, got you to us.
That's right.
And here we are still. When I worked at AT&T, I worked there 21 and a half years. And I was the last part of before I retired, I was having a rough time adjusting to the new way of business in a corporation because I'm kind of an old guy and all these youngsters were on the thing. And I went to a yoga class in the back of the sanctuary. And he used Jack Addington's page 109, Peace of Mind. And he read that to open as his recipe for the session. He always read it. And it's, I am profoundly undisturbed. And I said, where did you get that? I have to have it. And he took a picture of the book in the cell phone and he sent it to me. And I got the book and I pasted it on my wall, that page, on the wall of my cubicle at AT&T, and it got me through the last 2 years before my retirement. And people asked me, how can you live? How are you working so well through these turbulent times during the corporation that was changing radically from what I had known over the 20 years that I was there? And I said, well, I am profoundly undisturbed. And I said, I got it from a book from Jack Addington. And it has a whole bunch of things from constipation all the way to, there's one on constipation in here. And I ordered one and gave it to one of the directors who was also taking yoga. She called me back and said, where did I get it? I told her. She gave it out as Christmas presents. And that one conversation, and then people kept coming to me and saying, what's your change in your attitude? I don't understand. And I said, I am profoundly undisturbed. And I started sending them out to people. I buy the book at the bookstore at church and started sending them out to friends. He was the same draw for me. Well, I'll tell you, we had book discussions at AT&T around that book. You know, everybody would call me and say, can you read it with me? I'm having a rough time. So we would have unsolicited prayer sessions over Jack Addington's book. And we didn't consider it prayer. It was all about inspiration. So I find that interesting. We share that in common. And that how one little thing can link to something else to a greater expansion. So I just want to honor Dr. Addington tonight for bringing us together in that way. Is there anybody else that's interesting in sharing? Please, we have Reverend E available for another 10 minutes or so, maybe 15. It's a rare occasion we have her this open. Is there something someone wants to ask Reverend E? Or ask her to expound upon from her conversation tonight? If not, she'll pick one of you to say something.
I did expect some questions because this Declaration of Principles is one of the first things Ernest Holmes wrote. And sometimes I've had quite a discussion, especially about we believe in the healing of the sick through the power of the mind, and we believe in the control of conditions through the power of the mind.
I do know that Reverend D. Jacqueline spoke last Sunday, and she pulled a section from the I Believe on the continuity of this of the spirit. and
Mhm.
wrapped it into a discussion around Jesus, the eternity continuity. You mentioned it tonight. It's one of the principles in there. And basically it's about how our soul lives on regardless.
Mhm.
And she tied it to Reverend Jeff, and we all she reminded us of that passage. I don't know if you want to relook at or pull that out again, but
It says, I believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul, forever and ever expanding. And that has been a consolation for me, because William was killed by a young man who had no driving license and was driving somebody else's car, and it was an accident. And he left the scene of the accident. So there was quite a bit of confusion about that. And so I went to court and I asked them not to send him to prison, because he could have got a very stiff sentence for no license, and then leaving the scene of the accident was the thing. And I felt that if he went to prison, he would come out worse than he did before, because prison is not a place of rehabilitation. And he was a teenager, and he could get in there and get involved with some serious people, and he could be worse than he was in the beginning. And so the judge listened to me and accepted my suggestion for him to have restorative justice rather than punitive justice. Because I said to her, we already lost one man. We don't need to lose two.
if you all want to turn on your cameras so we can see each other, that would be great. If you want to do that, don't feel like you have to keep your cameras off during this period. Please feel free so we can see your lovely faces. Hopefully someone has something for Reverend E to chat about with us. Hi, Donna.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, darling. And Bob. Because if not, she's gonna get tired of me asking questions. So
I have a question.
Okay, Donna, go ahead.
It's good to see all of you. It's been a while.
Yes.
Reverend
indeed.
E, it's always so moving. It's always very moving for me to hear you speak, and very inspiring. So I wanted to ask you, you had talked about how you originally, when you first went to First Church, which is now OCSL, that you discovered the principle of using the mind and imagination to be able to attract material things. And then it was really about this transition of your heart. Could you please expand on the transition of your heart, and when you felt that there had been a transition, whether it was in small steps, whether it was in one, a realization or an insight in one moment? If you could expand on that, that would be great.
It feels to me like I always had a very strong intuition. And I always had a sense of knowingness that I didn't quite understand. And so when I heard that everything begins in mind, I realized that that's what that intuition is, that would make me know things that I couldn't explain. I was sharing that my brothers, I was raised with 5 brothers, and they played tricks on me a lot. But I would find all kinds of things in the woods. And there was a low place in the woods that in in the dry season, we would run through there and the mud would be crisp. It would just be dry and hard. And we could just run through the woods and run through that place. And then when the rainy season would come, it would fill up with water. And we couldn't run through there anymore because the bottom was muddy. And so after a while, I would notice these globs of jelly on top of the water. And it was like, what is that? And then after a while, these little globs of jelly would kind of separate like little eggs, and they'd have a little dot in them. And pretty soon the place would be full of frogs and all kinds of things. And there would be little fish in that pond. So I ran to my brothers and I said, it's raining, it rained fish, it rained fish. And of course, I was the laughing stock of the family. It wasn't until I think I was in the 9th grade or something when we started having science. And I learned about a kind of fish that lays its eggs in the mud. And when it rains, those eggs hatch. There's also a frog that burrows itself into the ground. And when there's a forest fire, it's down so deep that when the fire is over, they can come back to the top. And so the Holy Spirit is like that. It's more than we can comprehend, and it speaks to us in ways that will lead us through danger. That is, if we trust it, if we believe that this thing, I don't know why. I'm reading a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And he talks about how we go the same way to work and we have our life down to a routine, but in order to really change a habit, you have to change a lot of stuff. And so that changing my heart, it went all the way back to my childhood. And also, I've studied the Course in Miracles. And the Course in Miracles says, in order to have salvation, you have to bring your brother. And I decided your brother is whoever pisses you off the most. That's the person you need to surrender to and forgive and take him as your sacrifice. I brought my brother. The one I hated the most, I forgave him and I brought him with me. I hope that answered your question.
That did. Thank you very much.
You got a question, Casey? Stacy?
Anybody else may want to make a comment or question, nugget? Reverend,
Dr. Judith or Joan, you guys usually have something for me.
we were all speechless. You brought something up with the Declaration of Principles, and I want to hear your perspective on the spontaneous healing that you've seen arise in your days working with science of mind and treatments.
Well, it doesn't say spontaneous healing. It says the healing of the sick.
Right. And what you were talking about alcoholism blew my mind. So I'm, yes, absolutely. So please expand on that.
Well, there's a power within all of us And this power acts on our direction, and it listens, and that's what that slave song is about. My Lord is a listening. That although we had a difficult time and we went through all kinds of brutality, we were taught to forgive and to love, and it worked. I think it worked, because in the body, in the Course of Miracles, it says, I am not my body. I am free. I'm still as God created me. And so much of the pain and suffering is about, we identify with the body. There was a time when I felt that I didn't want to have a feeding tube, or I didn't want to suffer a painful death. I just want to go like that quickly. And then I saw a family where the grandmother lingered a long time. And everybody in that family that had any issues with each other began to come together around grandma's bed. And I said, Lord, I want to serve. If my suffering will cause somebody to forgive somebody, like in a large family where so-and-so is not speaking to so-and-so, but grandma dying now, and we can't be mad. I've seen that. So my body, when I go, I haven't gone nowhere. I had a young lady in our family that was killed in a drive-by shooting, probably a year ago. And I didn't have the same trauma that other people had, because I know that that child's body was not who she was. She was more than that. And I believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul, forever and ever expanding. And I don't know what's going on right here. I don't know what happened, but I know that part right there. And I hope I answered your question. I don't always know exactly how to answer, but I do the best I can. But I really believe in that eternality, in the immortality, in the continuity.
I have a question or a comment, Reverend E.
Yes.
Well, I'm just feeling the things that you said were so profound tonight that I'm feeling very quiet. And what I'm getting is the beyond labels, that God is so big that it's not any one religion. And the things you talked about, to me, a rock in a river, it is that. The bees around us, it is that. The whatever, I'm looking out and the hummingbird at my feeder tonight, it is that. Mm-hmm. And so many things are indigenous. Get apart for a while to pray. Go to the mountain to grow your power. And I'm going on a vision quest for 3 days in June. Mm-hmm. And it's to be in nature by myself with no phone and no reading material, etc. And I keep thinking, what am I going for? And tonight, you just said it. Relax completely in God. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm going to be going for. So thank you for the simplicity and the profound way that you just say things that go into my heart. And that's what happened tonight again. So thank you.
Thank you.
If no one else has, Dr. Judith, you want to say something, please? Unmute yourself, darling.
Okay, there we go.
There we go.
Every time that you speak, Reverend E, I come away full to overflowing. And my heart feels very glad today because of that, and grateful that you continue to be with First Church in different ways. And I heard enough today that I can take away, because I have a pattern that is not yet resolved that I continue to work on, where I'm wonderful and feel connected to God for this whole chunk of time. And then somehow I fall in a hole. And I have to, climb, or I fall off the wagon. Dr. Margaret used to talk about falling off the wagon. And some people can hop right back on, like Reverend Victor. And she said other people like me, herself, it would take a while to climb back up, to reestablish, to come to serenity and a sense of peace and compassion and a sense of being present again. And I just want to say thank you, because you're an amazing storyteller as well as other things. I closed my eyes and I felt that I was on the journey with you as a child, looking up at the plain and making a vow to come here. So I thank God for the plane and for your presence. And I can't wait till the next time. Thank you.
I think we all feel that way tonight. I know I've been asking, kind of dragging it out of you guys to participate, but we've been in silent reverence with you tonight, Reverend E. So I want to just, we're going to wrap this up here shortly. Can we all show our appreciation to Reverend E and let her know how much?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Paul, I did want to say something. I had my hand raised.
Oh, I see it now, Carmen. Sorry, I thought you were clapping up there. I apologize. But
That's
anyway,
okay. That's
Carmen,
okay. I'm kind of
please.
out and about. That's why I wasn't saying anything. I just, and I missed the sermon because I couldn't find internet. I just want to say I love you, Reverend E, and it's good to see you, and always good to hear you. I just wanted to bask in your words and your wisdom, as I have for over 30 years, and just appreciate you. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Carmen. And thank you everyone that came tonight to be a part of this. I'm like Judith, my cup runneth over, Reverend E. You did it again. Reverend E comes to us every other month. So this is May, then June. So she'll be back with us in July. And she likes and usually shows up on third Wednesday. So mark your calendar. You know I'm going to announce it one way or the other ahead of time. But she'll be back with us. So thank you, Reverend E. I'm going to run through some quick announcements. We have a lot going on at the center, and there's some things you guys need to know around our business and activities here. So this Sunday, May 23rd, Reverend Susan Overland will continue the May theme of Holy, Holy Uprising with a talk on Say Their Names. That's this coming Sunday. Reverend Susan is Associate Minister at San Jose CSL and is also our Regional Support Coordinator for our region, which is Region 3. Our meditation is at 10 and the service starts at 10:30. And then next Wednesday, May 26th, our temporary minister, Reverend Soni Contrell Smith, will be continuing this inquiry into Holy, Holy Uprising. And the meditation is at 6:30 and the service is at 7. Then on Sunday, that I just spoke about after service, please join Reverend Sonny and the Board of Trustees for a community meeting. It's right after service, where they'll share with us the latest information about all of the activities going on around our village in the preparation for receiving a new senior minister. Also, you are invited to a listening circle with Reverend Sonny Contrell Smith. This is your opportunity to be heard and held in a small group of villagers. This is your time to share from your heart about Reverend Jeff's transition and all the community changes and challenges. Each group is limited to 15 participants. Currently, there is one seat left for the group meeting of tomorrow, which is May 20th. The group being held on Saturday is now filled. Reverend Sonny has added and scheduled another small group for next Thursday, May 27th, if you still want to participate, and that's at 12:30. Reservations are required. Once you register, you will receive the Zoom information. The registration links are on the events page of our website and in the village news that's coming out tomorrow morning. These groups are primarily, but not exclusive to, our villagers who are not practitioners or on the Board of Trustees. So please join if you would like one of the listening circles. And again, a new one has been added for next Thursday. Our diversity circle is meeting the last Friday of this month, which is a week from Friday, May 28th at 7 p.m. Chaplain Doug Myers and his partner Shridevi Ramanathan, who's been leading these diversity circles for a long time now, will have an evening of discussion and learning. More information to follow on Sunday and Wednesday. Also, on the last Saturday of the month, the Spirit Treasure Bookstore will be holding their last courtyard sale on the last Saturday, May 29th, from 10 to 4. Help clear out the old to make way for new, and get great gifts ideas for yourself and friends at the same time. Please tell your friends, neighbors, and bring them. It's all open air. It's safe, following all the COVID protocols. Reverend E, if you want to shop at the bookstore, it'll be in the courtyard the last Saturday of this month. I'm sure you need another book. Carmen West Jefferson, who's on the call tonight, one of our emeritus practitioners, is offering a 6-week book study on caste, The Origins of Our Discontent by Isabel Wilkerson. In this brilliant book, the Pulitzer Prize winning author gives us a masterful portrait of an unseen phenomena in America as she explores through an immersive, deeply researched narrative and stories about real people how America today and throughout its history has been shaped by a hidden caste system, a rigid hierarchy of human rankings. A study guide is included in the 6-week summer series discussion. Please sign up now. The study begins Monday, June 7th at 6:30 on Zoom, and you can find more information about this on our events page. Also, we're still doing the Noontime Spiritual Journey, Monday through Friday, with Dr. Dan Morgan's book, Guided for a Spiritual Journey, as well as Susan Brecker, who I thought I saw on the call tonight, is doing an in-person small group every Tuesday from 3 to 4. That's in our courtyard, open air, as well as practitioner Zoe DeMuro is leading an online small group on Thursdays at 6:30 in Zoom. So you can explore the readings of the week with both of them and enjoy the connection the gatherings afford. As I said earlier, if you're new and joining us for the first time, if you go to Where Else, our website, where everything is located on the homepage, lower left-hand corner, you can submit your email address and you will receive our weekly newsletter, The Village News, which tells you about everything that's upcoming, including when Reverend E will be back. So definitely, if you're interested, getting a reminder every week of what's going on at the center, please sign up for the Village News. With that in mind, one of the biggest things that Reverend um, things that Reverend E tells me is that we need to spend a minute on an offering, and I'm so grateful to receive your gifts. The affirmation tonight is the gift I give is God in action. It does good work in the world and blesses creation. So I hold up my digital collection bowl. I'll be soon passing that walnut bowl that's older than me around the sanctuary. I mean, the social hall soon. In a month or so, I think we'll be opening to in person, maybe, if all goes well. But in lieu of that, I am so grateful for your contributions and your gifts. And I pass this bowl from cube to cube, just like we would pass it to person, receiving your gift. I'm grateful. We bless it, we receive it and know it. It returns in multiple fashions, not only to support our center, but our world. Now, what's the physical way to do that donation is through our website on the donate button for credit cards, or you can text an amount to 510-327-3431, or you can always send it in the mail. And the address of 5000 Clarewood Drive. All the information is on our website. Everything that we do here right now is through our website. And you found us through our website. So I know it works. We are so blessed to have you, Reverend E. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you for your words of wisdom tonight. I also want to thank her assistant, Stacy, who's with us behind that little curtain there. I know she's helping Reverend E tonight with all the technologies. We're so grateful to you, Stacy, for doing that work. Also want to say hello and thank you to my fabulous team of supporters on the Zoom team, and that is Alice and Sage and Dr. Barbara Ravino. Thank you guys for helping us. So with that in mind, Reverend E, would you be willing to close our service in prayer? Thank you again, everybody.
And I want to remind all of us that every thought is a prayer. And so we pay attention to our thoughts and we keep our thoughts out of the garbage can. There's a lot of garbage around us now. There are words that wound and words that heal. And so we dedicate our lives to words that heal and thoughts that heal, because we know that we have the power to heal. We know that God, this healing power is non-local. And so we can speak a word of prayer for those who are not present, because this energy is not bounded by time and space. It's everywhere present. And the only time there is now. And for this, I'm grateful. And we go our separate ways, just rejoicing and leaping and playing like little children, because that's what we really are. Please anchor this prayer with me by saying Ashe.
Ashe.
Amen.
Amen.
And so it is.
And so it is.